And we're almost live. Today's episode is sponsored by Holy Milk. I've got a test package here. Delicious vegan milk that has no seed or vegetable oil, refined sugar, natural flavors, or non-organic stabilizers. This stuff is delicious. Check out the Holy Milk Instagram to find out where you can purchase Holy Milk in New York City. Now on to the episode.
So you telling me you saw Ted Jones?
Famous Chicago comedian in the house.
Whoa, are we already starting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
What's going on,
What's
Ted
up,
Jones?
dude? How you doing,
Good
man?
to see you, buddy. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. You and I met a few weeks ago, shooting the on the street in front of a comedy show.
At the comedy shop,
At the comedy shop, and here you are, bro.
Shout out Greenwich Village Comedy
Yes,
Shop.
absolutely, man. So when did you move to New York?
I've only been here like 3 months, dude.
All right, you're adjusting well, it seems like.
Dude, yeah, I'm adjusting this arm. It's actually
Yeah,
good.
you're
Look at this.
Yeah, dude, get in there.
I want to be as
relax.
casual as you. I want to. This,
all right.
this is more comfortable for me.
Yeah, bro. Well, you're a podcast guy, so you're
I am,
familiar with the
yeah,
mic
yeah.
right up in your freaking face.
Right. Yeah. Well, the arm is new. This is
Yeah,
elaborate.
you're usually a holder guy.
Usually
well,
a
the
holder
thing is,
guy.
because I like to give guests the opportunity to elaborate with their hands and
Yeah.
speak
No, this is
way.
good. I like this.
Yeah.
Tell
those
you what,
hands.
man. Ted Jones World. They're really doing it right over here. How much does arm cost you?
An arm and a leg.
You son of a bitch.
Well,
we
we
are-
straight with the jokes.
It is 3:00 and we were already doing comedy. This
Yeah,
is
man.
great.
Get a nice little start. This is the open mic here we got going on here.
No, but just moved to New York.
Yes.
From Chicago.
Uh-huh.
Came here to pursue my dreams, and here we are. Now I'm in your fucking apartment doing your podcast.
Where'd you move to?
I moved to East Village.
Okay, nice.
I like it. I was thinking on the way here. I think New York is kind of like it's like being in a relationship with a like a 1950s relationship where like the woman is getting like battered. You know what I'm talking about?
Well,
like,
what do you feel like?
Because I feel like every day I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'm going to pursue my dreams. And New York is like,
man.
shut up, bitch, and kind of slaps
It's
me around.
tough. You gotta get out and like say that every day to New York. Just be like, today's my day, even if
Yeah.
it's not. Eventually, they say.
But the
it
city
might be your
then
day.
raises your hand and it goes, shut up. No, it's not. Go
Yeah.
back in your hole. And you're like, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I
Right, right, right.
apologize.
Do you have roommates at the current moment?
I have 2 roommates. They're self-proclaimed the dogs. They call them the
dogs. I love that.
Hang out with the dogs. I guess that makes me a dog.
Dude, so there are guys who live in East Village now, like a group of, I think like 20 kids kind of coined the phrase. They're like, oh, we're the East Villains.
The East
Like that.
Villains is kind of
Wow,
creative.
it is kind of cool, but I
That's
think
better
the way
than
that
the
those
dogs.
guys did that, the dogs is fresh.
Dude, my Wi-Fi name, no fucking around, is Party Bros. I moved in and their Wi-Fi name was Party Bros like 23.
What's the password if you don't?
I don't know what the password is, to be honest. I had them
Is it
type
like
it in.
it's one of those like just automated passwords. They ain't got time to be like the dogs are chill.
I think there is a password, but I forget. It's something to do with Party Bros also, but I'm just like, and I thought they were being ironic, but now at this point I don't think they are. But I know one of them from high school and the other one was his college roommate.
I was gonna ask, where'd you go to college?
I went to DePaul University in
Oh,
Chicago.
Chicago. All
so
right,
I'm all
bro.
Chicago, dude. There's no, you could hear it in my age.
In your accent, a
Big
little
cake.
bit. I went to UConn. So UConn and DePaul were in the Big East together for a moment.
Okay, I don't know anything about any of that.
Oh, really?
No, did you play any sports or
I
anything?
played tennis at UConn.
Did you really?
That was my claim
So did you
to
play
fame,
DePaul
yeah.
people?
DePaul actually didn't have a men's tennis team at my sophomore year, but freshman year I think they did have it. They were pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a good school academically. Maybe a lot of people haven't heard of it just because like it's not University of Chicago. It's not MIT. Oh, wait, shit. Is MIT in Chicago? No, it's in
no, that's
Massachusetts.
U Chicago's.
Bro. Duh.
yeah,
My
no,
bad.
it's a Catholic school. I had an okay time. It's pretty. It's similar to NYU in like demographic of like everyone's kind of like trying to have their social cause that they're really trying to back and like they're looking for an identity. So, and I went there I didn't know what I was going to do, so I went there for English, which
English.
is a waste of time. English literature. I thought I was gonna be a teacher or something, and so I would just be in like Shakespeare 101 or whatever class I'd be in. We'd read like Macbeth, which is like just like a beautiful like soliloquy, and then someone raised their hand and be like, "So I think this means that Shakespeare is gay," and you're like, "I don't think that's what this is about." You know what I mean? Respectively, right?
Well, I think
They're trying to find like a coral in a straw. To be fair,
being relatable to people like you seem like you are, right? Would you say that?
I try to be a average guy.
Well, I haven't heard that people who are so relatable going into the teaching realm, and I feel like it should happen more. Like I haven't heard of people really potentially wanting to be teachers and also really good communicators, as you seem to be.
Well, I wanted to so I wanted to be a teacher just because I was like, you're in college. Did you know what you wanted to do? Because you're clearly not. You're doing Alex Jones World and doing comedy, right? So like, I imagine you don't have.
That's my uncle, no, but we don't talk about it.
Any relation?
Not that I'm willing to talk about.
Okay.
No, not any relation. That'd be crazy.
That would be awesome if this podcast started and you were just like, so the frogs are gay. Like you get right into it, Because I don't know, you like everyone's like, pick something, do something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, I'll be a teacher, I guess. And then then you start to take classes for it. And then you start to student teach, and I'm like, I hate all these fucking kids. And so then I'm like, well, I'm already this far deep into like the gen eds of it. So now I just wrapped it up with English. I was going to be an English teacher.
What kind of stuff in college did you learn being an English major? Was it a lot of like reading and comprehension?
Yeah, it's a lot of bullshit. I mean, you could pretty much bullshit your way through it. It's a lot of like I said, you like read, classics like Shakespeare or like Hemingway or like, and then Faulkner,
dissect it.
And then you just kind of sit in the classroom and bullshit about it for some of it's interesting. Like I genuinely like certain pieces of literature. But
did you ever read Catcher in the Rye?
I did read Catcher in the Rye.
What do you think
all
about
the phonies?
It, man?
I don't know. It didn't make me want to kill John Lennon.
Central Park, yeah.
The Swan, yeah. Dude, it's been so long. I don't even know if I remember, but.
I don't really understand the fascination with it. It's because it's such a simple kind of story. Or what? Why do people like what is the deal with all these books? There's probably 10 books that people say, "Oh, you have to read."
You got to read these books.
Yeah. Are there any ones in particular that you feel like you got to read?
No. I don't think anyone has to do anything they don't want to do.
Wow.
Well said. I was just talking about this with my friend of like in New York, do you feel like there's certain things like food wise, like in Chicago, people will be like, when you have a hot dog, you got to have this
Wiener
and that.
Circle, right?
And you can't have ketchup on it. I'm like, I don't give a, do whatever you want. Eat the fucking hot dog.
So you mean being in New York, is there anything you feel like you have to do?
Is there anything that they're like, it's like a cardinal sin if you don't do it? Is that a thing?
Interesting question. I'd say you have to visit a certain amount of places in New York while you're here.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to go to one of the museums. Like you don't have to go crazy and go to all 8 of the museums. Maybe you just generally you go to Times Square, check out the hustle and bustle
Been to
of
Times Square. That
West
makes me
Village, McDougal Street.
Being in Times Square makes me want to kill John Lennon. That's like my Catcher in the Rye. When I'm in Times Square and I see like an Ecuadorian man dressed as Spider-Man, and then like some sort of like some sort of Mickey Mouse that looks like it's been on crack for 7 days.
Yeah,
it's like I think we've reached the limit.
Yeah,
I think that this is it.
You don't really see
excess.
Is there a central part of Chicago where tourists all kind of gather? Is it the Bean or not?
Yeah, there's the Bean. I mean, the Bean is fine. That's Millennium Park, and then Navy Pier, which are both like if you're like it's one of those things where like I'm sure New Yorkers would agree that like you avoid Times Square. You avoid the touristy places. It's cool to see for a second, but then you're like, okay, I get what this is. It's just mass excess and tourist traps and garbage.
Do you spend a lot of time on Lake Chicago? But like it looks like a complete ocean. I don't really understand.
It's Lakeshore Drive or like the have you been to Chicago?
Yeah, I went about a year ago. One of my buddies was doing a show at the Den, so I spent a couple nights up there. And then also one of my friends lived close to Lake Chicago, where I forget the name of the street, but I've never seen so many designer stores clumped together. It was like Rodeo Drive.
Michigan Avenue, yeah.
It's
like the Magnificent Mile. They call it.
It's insane.
Yeah,
Chanel,
all that
Gucci,
shit is.
Prada.
Yeah, you did the
Wilson
stuff.
store. Yeah. Well, he lived close by to the store.
Okay.
But do you guys consider that a beach? Like, do you go out on boats and regattas?
There's beaches and like it's called the Playpen. Okay, so there's a Playpen. It's a little like sector of the water that if you have a boat, you go out into the lake and then you just kind of like day party all day. And if you got a boat in the summertime in Chicago, you're getting bitches.
Well,
dude.
let me ask you this: did you split a day rate boat with some of your boys, like some of the
but if I could go back in time, I wouldn't major in English. I would take the college tuition, get a boat.
Yeah, the gas money for
you
the boat.
You would get just as many. You would figure it out. You would get just as much life experience as college would give you. Being on a boat in the summertime
in Chicago.
In Chicago, that might be a lie, but that's true.
Where'd you go to high school in Chicago?
I went to high school in the suburbs, Hinsdale Central High School. So I grew up in the city. Then high school, I moved out to the suburbs. and then went to college back in the city.
What's been the difference so far between Chicago and New York?
New York, man, I mean, I don't know. It truly is the second city. So, right. So like here, it's just like everything. It's like we have everything that there is here. It's just bigger, badder, and more people.
And easier to get to maybe here.
Easier to get to. Yeah, I like being in the madness of it. You know, it's like a fun.
And it's like most parts of Manhattan you go to, and it's pretty crowded. You know, maybe if you go to a more quiet residential area, you'll see, I don't know if you've been to Tribeca or maybe pockets in meatpacking, like quieter streets, Street, whatever. Yeah, you'll see like that's where the really expensive stuff is. You know, you figure like the rent in New York is obviously out of control, but you go into those quieter neighborhoods, bro.
The frogs are gay.
Nuts.
That's why,
dude. That's what I was gonna get back to. That's what I was gonna
back to it's the president.
What do your roommates do?
My roommates are like bros. One of them is like a financial analyst of some kind, and then the other one is I think a computer software engineer. He just got a new job, but they're like, you know, they're like set. They're just like they're like I came here to like let me I don't drink anymore. I'm just like, let me focus on my fucking career. Like I came here to do comedy. Like there's no other reason why I wanted to move to New York other than this is the place that you come for comedy. Whereas like they're like, oh, you come to New York because it's like super fun. If you have money in this city, it's fucking a blast, dude. But if you don't have money, you're like I live like a Ninja Turtle. I live like a sewer rat. I have more in common than the rats than my roommates, I think, just because I'm just like on the street every day. I'm in Washington Square, just like talking to myself.
When did you quit drinking?
7 months ago.
Is there a reason?
7 months, almost 8.
All right, nice.
Yeah, because I knew. Well, I was getting too fucked up. I was doing bad stuff. Nothing too bad though. And then you know, I knew I was coming here, and I figured if there's one thing that's gonna fuck me up in this town, it's gonna be drinking.
You know, because at these shows, sometimes if we don't get paid, we get paid in drinks, which is something that you can really, once you pop, the fun don't stop.
How long you been doing comedy, Ted?
About like 4 years.
Okay,
now,
I'm a little about the same. Yeah. And so you know, like most comedians that you meet are either completely sober or alcoholics.
Yeah.
And I was the latter for the longest time, and now I'm trying. I was like, let me just give it a year. Let me just give it a year of not drinking and see how I feel. And it's been hard, you know. It's not all awesome, but I do feel like it's better for what I'm doing right now. You know what I mean?
Do you smoke weed at all?
So ever since I moved I was smoking weed in Chicago without drinking, but ever since I've been here, every time I smoke weed, I freak out. I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm scared. I don't know where I am. So I become more paranoid. So I haven't since I've been here. I don't know. Sometimes I'll be like, I'll get done with a show and I'm like, oh, I'll go home and I'll write, you know, or like I'll fucking work on my, you know, I'll get to bed early and wake up early. You know, like I don't have that hangover. I don't have that like anxiety. You know what I don't, probably the best part about it in my short experience not drinking is that like the next morning you have none of that anxiety of like, what did I say? What did I do? Did I fuck up? Did I do this? And I was getting that way too much. I was like, oh, you know.
College and early years after college, I did a lot of like drunk dialing, calling ex-girlfriends, calling girls that I was like pumped about. And then I look at my phone the next morning. I like called her 3 times at 4 a.m. And I was like, just wanted to see what you had for dinner. Like there's no excuse for that. No,
I ruined a lot of relationships by drinking. And and I've definitely, but with like shit like that. Like, you know, you call at late at night, you know, you show up and you're like, you know, you're sloppy. It's just like, it's not fun. And then like are you a fight guy? You ever get in any fights?
Not I shoved a guy really hard once, but that was like the hardest.
Second grade, I shoved a guy super hard, dude.
No, I think I was sophomore in high school. I shoved him. But like, no, not really. Not a big fight guy. You're a big fight guy? Really?
Big fight guy.
You seem like a sweet guy.
Well, yeah, when I drink, a little bit of a fight guy.
Oh, really?
At least in the past few times, it's like, you know, it's like you're...
Wait, would you start the fight though, or...
Yeah, oh yeah. Like for example, like I was just in Chicago last weekend for the 312 Comedy Festival, and I was at the bar with my buddy, and this guy came over, and he was like blasted on coke, like just like his pupils out of his head. Yeah. And he was going, I come to the bar by myself sometimes. I go to the bar by myself. How are you? Nice to see you. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like my body language is like, you know, just please like leave me alone, you know? I'm like, oh, nice to meet you, man. And he's like, no, you don't go to a bar by yourself? You don't go by a bar? And I go, yeah, I do, but I don't talk to nobody. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like being weird. And we just slowly kind of distanced himself. But I thought to myself, if I was drinking, I would have been like, hey, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, just that I still felt that in my heart. I still hated that guy, but I kept it at bay.
And being on alcohol, I don't want to say being on alcohol, but drinking alcohol, those things come so much easier. Like, you'll just say what's on the front of your mind, you know, without thinking about it so much. And if you were drunk in that situation, you'd be like, hey, buddy, why don't you get the fuck out of here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's how I talk. So, but it's, exactly. So I was like, times like that, I always like kind of take a second and acknowledge like, oh, this would have totally went differently if I was, you know, just had no, you know, control over your
frontal cortex.
Under the frontal cortex. But the dogs over at the apartment,
they drink a lot.
They drink a lot and they can't stand me not drinking.
Right.
When I moved in, I didn't tell them I was sober, and they were like, when you get here, we're going to go crazy. It's going to be a blast.
They didn't find out till like night 15 where they were like, all right, you still not drinking?
Yeah, my poor roommate, he's such a nice guy, but he was trying to get me to go to, have you ever been to Williamsburg Hotel?
Yeah.
He was trying to get me to Williamsburg Hotel for the first like 5 weeks I moved in. He's like, come on, dude. He's like, it's going to be a rager. And I was just like, hey, dude, I'm just not doing that. Sorry. There's nothing there for me.
Well, good for you, man. For freaking sticking a bar and staying with it, dude.
Yeah, buddy. Well, for a year. I'm going to reassess after that.
Yeah, well, you still got some time, though. That's
still got
good.
some time.
What did you do? What were some of the fun things you did growing up in Chicago? Were you and your friends driving at an earlier age? Or like parents dropping you off at parties, going to the mall, or what?
Driving.
The water's all you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I don't know, fun shit to do in Chicago. You act like it's like Sweden.
It's not Sweden could be. Sweden
so did you grow up in the city popular?
Yes.
So you what neighborhood?
Greenwich Village, and then moved to Gramercy Park, and then the West Village.
So you went to grammar school, high school in New York?
Yeah, bro.
Started comedy in New York?
Moved here when I was 6 weeks old, and then ever since.
No way.
Yeah.
That's like, as someone that's not from here.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
Dude, hammer me with some questions.
No, but it's just like mind-boggling. I think about even just in the sheer sense of comedy, like starting here.
Yeah.
Seems like you're jumping right into it. Whereas like in Chicago, it's like you have little training wheels. You know, you could fuck up, you could kind of develop yourself, and then you come here and you could kind of sort through the madness a little bit easier. You know, so how was that coming through?
I think starting like being thrown into the fire. I would go to the old stand on 19th Street and 2nd Avenue in 2012, right when it first opened. So I met a ton of comics who are still in the game today, but like. Yeah, I saw comedy firsthand before I even really got into it. Like I was hanging around comedy clubs with comics for like 2 or 3 years before I ever even started doing open mics and then doing shows with like.
Do you look back on yourself and you go, "Oh, I was so like, I can't believe I did that back then." Like, you know what I mean? Like, and do you feel like people, you know, like, do you still have that? You know, like you're like, oh, I learned so much from that, but you still go back to that same place. You know what I mean?
Well, I think just starting comedy in New York and watching so many good comics and still being like, oh, well, they're not doing so well on this particular night, but I see them do well on another night. Right. That like kind of allowed me to finally jump into it. Like I worked in my dad's real estate company for 6.5 years before I even started to pursue comedy full time. Huh? Yeah, bro. So like that.
You'd be a great real estate guy. I could see that. Hear. Is your dad like you? Is your dad like? Hey,
he's more chill, but he's funny. Yeah, he can like. He can
but he's like, you know, is he like? Because you're. I would describe you as animated.
Yeah, he's.
Hey, I'm Ted. I'm Ted Jones. Like anytime, this is my fucking world.
Anytime he sees me smoking weed, he'll be like, "Teddy, can I have a hit?" Every single time.
Your dad smokes weed, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad does too.
Yeah, he enjoys weed. Well, it's because it's legal in New York and Chicago. I don't know about in any states you guys are watching it, but our dads do it legally. You know what I mean?
My dad, like, I think it's the best thing for my dad because my dad all day is like very. My dad's very like high stress. Like I'm the chillest person in my family. Like I like naturally I am like the least tense. Like my brother and my dad are like fucking like just clenched all the time. So it's like when my dad smokes, he's like, hey, you know, he'll just. Would your dad get high and like just start telling you stories from like that he probably shouldn't be telling you?
Potentially.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be like, hey, you know, I picked up a hooker one time.
Maybe not that in depth, but stuff like that. Or he'll give me advice that I'm not asking for. things like that, or like trying to relate to me a little bit more so than usual, but I appreciate it. It's all good.
Right. You ever do improv?
Yeah, dude, I was a big, you see it says the Herald sign on there.
You were a Herald guy.
Yeah, I took.
Do you still do it?
Improv. No. I stopped as soon as the UCB shut down because of the pandemic, but I was taking improv for like 4 years before I even thought about doing stand-up.
They're opening in
Williamsburg.
So that was, I think most Chicago comedians, with the exception of a few of my friends, like their trajectory is like, oh, I took a class at Second City. It looks like that the key component of people being good at improv is trust and humility. It's like, oh, I have this gift that I'm gonna give you, and and I trust you to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
So you're being selfless with your laugh. You're going, I'm giving you this laugh, but I need to trust you that you're gonna hit it. So really there's like this synergy that needs to happen. But comedy, stand-up comedy, is the complete opposite of that. It's, I want all the laughs. If I bomb, it's on me. If I kill, it's on me. And that's just the person I am. You seem like a nice guy. I'm sure we'll be pals long after this. I still want to do my thing. You know what I mean? That's just what it is.
And improv is like a team sport also. Like when you see a group of 5 or 6 improv people go up there on a team and they really mesh together, it's some of the funniest stuff you could ever watch.
100%. But when you start improv training, like I was on an improv team in Chicago at one point, and they would we'd walk in and everyone would be like, all right, give everybody a hug. I'm like, I'm not fucking hugging anybody. You know what I mean? Like that's
zip zap zap.
If you were trying to get to know me and trust me, that should be your first inclination, is like, no hugs. like fucking, are you a hugger?
Oh, in general?
Yeah.
I mean, I think once we get tighter, maybe I'll give you the dap to the hug. But
dap
I don't
to the
think
hug is different.
Yeah, I'll never go full like arms.
Big open arms,
I'll go
like
dap to the
Teletubby hug.
Yeah. No, that's big.
Get the fuck away from me. A man should not hug a grown man.
Is there a limit
unless
to that?
Someone's dead, or unless
you haven't seen
them in months.
What's the limit though? What's the tipping point? No hug, to the dap hug, to the hug.
Dap hug is, I think dap hug is street, yo. That's cool, man. Yo, dap up, and then you come in with like the shoulder embrace. But like big guys do this. Anytime I see big guys are really big into hugging, they like to give you their warmth.
Yeah, which I appreciate sometimes.
I don't.
Okay. Question about some Chicago stand-up comics. Were there any comics you saw in Chicago where you're like, man, why didn't this guy leave Chicago and go to LA or New York?
Sure. I mean, yeah, of course, dude. I don't know. But like everybody's journey is different. And that's my biggest, I have a lot of qualms with life in New York and yada, yada. But I do find that everyone in New York does think that they're doing something that's superior, or at least they come off, a lot of people, that they're superior or more important than anybody else in the country doing this art form. And it's like, well, you're not. It's like just because you're not getting the opportunities, like people in the Midwest aren't getting the same opportunities, it doesn't mean that they're not at a base level contributing to the craft of comedy and developing a voice and putting it out into the ether.
What's a qualm? Is it qualm or qualm?
I don't know. What is it?
Is it qualm, James? Can you look it up on your phone?
Qualm?
Thank you.
With an L? I do this thing where I don't say things right.
But the thing is, saying qualm could be pronounced like people would pronounce it that way and not pronounce the L. But it may be qualm. Anyway, before we get the answer over here, what's a qualm you have about New York? Something that you don't like, right? That's what we meant.
Yeah. That was for sure one of them. I don't know. It was new. It's something that not necessarily a qualm, but something I had to adjust to, is that like New Yorkers in general are at face value, not at like in Chicago. I felt like I was the meanest guy in Chicago. I came to New York. I felt like I was the nicest person in New York. Because I'm going up to everyone going, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'm Luca. And everyone's going, who the fuck are you? You know, which is like, I think at a surface level, New Yorkers are a little bit more like don't fucking talk to me. But as soon as you break that sort of film of like meanness that they're putting up, then they're like the nicest people in the world.
Just break it right away with a dap hug. You know?
No hugs.
Just dap.
But just a little dap, maybe a handshake. Bring back the hand. Nobody handshakes anymore.
Well, people probly were.
Everybody daps, and then you know what? I never when they get.
Remember that? Like, we're never gonna be able to shake hands anymore.
No, well, no, what's it called? The fucking so like, you know, dap me up. People do this, and then they go.
No.
I forget that.
Who does that?
And then I feel bad. A lot of people do that.
I've never seen that.
A lot of comment below if you fucking do the snap.
Wait.
They go like this, and then they go.
I said opposite.
Yeah, they do. I don't even know what order it is, but every time I'll just dap somebody up, and then they'll do the snap, and I go, oh fuck, I ruined it.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm not initiated in whatever this culture, this coolness is.
James, did you get this Qualm or Qualm?
Oh, no, I got it.
What?
It's telling me how to pronounce it in every language but English.
Yeah, well.
Ah, man.
Word. Word. What were we talking about? All right, let's
Google if they snap and slap the chest. Are you supposed to do that?
Sometimes I do this, but a comic said to me one time, he was like, yo, that's disrespectful. Don't do that.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it not doing it? Why is it not doing it?
Quam.
Quam.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like the silent kind of L.
Yeah.
Quam.
On my podcast, we do a word of the day every episode. So this episode, I'm bringing my podcast to you.
Love that.
Word of the day is quam.
And the podcast that you do is with two of your bros from
Two
Chicago.
of my comedian buddies in Chicago called Nona's Basement. We do it in my grandma's basement.
Oh, love that. Your whole family's in Chicago?
Yeah, dude. So before I moved here, I lived on like pretty much like a Godfather style compound with my mom, dad, brother, and grandma. So we lived in like a big house. I lived in the basement. Pretty stereotypical.
What do you mean Godfather style?
Have you seen The Godfather?
Yeah.
You know, like they all like live in that big like mansion house.
Which one was your favorite?
Favorite Godfather? I mean one. I think one is the classic,
Yeah,
but I
think
like
so.
two a lot.
I love Marlon Brando, dude.
Yeah, I like Brando a lot. But two is good. Two is just as good. You know,
Yeah.
you go back in time, you see
I'm pretty sure I watched all three on one day. Is that possible?
really
Or maybe 2
probably
days?
yeah. It's not Lord of the Rings. I mean, you could do it like you could do it
Yeah, like all 8
in
of
a
them.
half of a day.
You pretty Italian?
Very Italian, yeah.
Okay. Your
Yeah.
parents were born in Italy, or
My grandmother is from Italy, and then my dad's like supposedly 100% Italian. He won't take a 23andMe though because he's afraid that
right.
won't be
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
one of those. He's very Italian American. I like to joke on stage, just like that, like what you would imagine like a Sopranos character. In that sense,
is that why you do Sebastian Maniscalco so well? You guys kind of have like
well, he's from Chicago.
the
Yeah,
end of your words sometimes sound similar, but then obviously when you imitate him, it's insanely good.
yeah. Well, let me see if I could get.
So I'm in Ted Jones's house and we're looking up the word quam. This guy, Ted
Well,
Jones.
you know what? Do you know why I'm so good at it, Ted? Is because when I started comedy, and I would like to know your take on this, but like I feel like every person when they start comedy, they emulate a certain comedian. It's like, and musicians do that too. Like, you know, like the Beatles wanted to be
You
like
kinda develop
Chuck
your own
Berry or
style.
something. You know, it's like
Yeah, there was like Kobe and MJ.
right, exactly. So like so my comedian obviously was. Like I loved comedy all around, but like Sebastian was the first person that I was like, this guy's from where I live. He's Italian. His family sounds similar to mine. He gave me like sort of the hope or aspiration to be like, oh, maybe I should try this.
You
know
ever
what I
see
mean?
him live in Chicago?
I have. Very funny.
What year was that? Like,
It was
what
when he
year
was
of
doing
comedy
the
was
Stay
he in?
Hungry. I think he just got done doing the Stay Hungry, where he's in the blue leather jacket at Radio City, like that special. He was doing that material, but I think it had just come out, so he didn't start fresh. He didn't have any new stuff. But it was good. I mean, like, dude, he's like, I told my friend, like, when you go see Sebastian Maniscalco, you'll never see more leather jackets in a theater in your entire life.
Everyone else is
you
wearing
just hear
leather.
you see people adjusting, getting into their seats.
I enjoyed Jim Carrey and kind of basing my act off him initially.
I love Jim Carrey, yeah.
Just kind of the act outs.
As a kid, I loved,
Yeah,
you know,
great.
Cable
I mean,
Guy.
Dude, I mean, he was so. I don't know how old you are, but he was in so many movies from the ages when I was like,
Oh yeah.
8 to 15.
Oh, dude, Jim Carrey was, to be honest, Jim Carrey was maybe like my childhood like love of comedy. It's like, so like as a kid, I'd be like, oh, I love Jim Carrey, but I always looked at him as like a theatrical actor or like
Yeah,
or like
me
a
too.
comedic actor.
I never really thought about
I didn't
him
look
as
at him as a
stand-up.
stand-up.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
But yeah, Cable Guy.
What was your favorite Jim Carrey movie?
Oh man, that's
Dumb
hard,
and Dumber,
dude.
I know.
Not Dumb and Dumber.
Liar, so serious, but so good.
I love Liar,
Truman
Liar.
Show. Oof, there's some bangers.
I used to love The Mask, dude. I love that
All
movie,
right.
man. That as a kid, I just thought it like combined because I love like comic book stuff, and then also like him being funny. Cable Guy's great.
Ace Ventura. How'd you feel?
Ace Ventura. Yeah, it's got to
Yeah.
be Ace Ventura.
I think so. One of them. You know, it's sad these days that you can't really make a comedy that was just that raunchy anymore. You know, the last one that was like really you can watch it and die laughing just from dumb baseline things was probably Superbad, and I'd say right before that maybe Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
But it seemed like when that movie This Is the End came out, that was kind of like that was like this is the end. You know,
Interesting.
I don't know, when did Dictator come out? You remember that movie?
I do remember that movie.
James Franco and Seth Rogen, but that wasn't really like a full on comedy. It was just kind of like a touchy subject world wise, politically.
Yeah, I think comedy movies are still being made. It's just like I think you're right, like the crudeness of a movie, like Ace Ventura was like if you pitch that to a studio, they'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
You're like, "No, he's a animal detective." You know, it's funny, and they'd be like, "Yeah, but how is this going to relate to, you know, like our demographic?" It's just so silly.
And I've heard
the silliness of that movie.
A lot of people a lot of people who are very invested in movies will talk about how it's going to be hard to go see a comedy movie that maybe costs $10 million to make when the ticket prices are the same as the Transformers, which cost $200 million to make.
And like, I mean, did you watch Sebastian's movie? It was just, gosh darn terrible.
What was it on?
It was it came out in theaters, and then I seen it the other day.
With Robert De Niro. Right?
Yeah, it went to HBO like within a week, dude. It's one of those, you know, where you're like, oh man, but as soon as I seen the trailer, I knew it was gonna be bad. There's a scene in the trailer where he's on like a jet ski thing, and he like slapstick style slaps into the boat, and his swim trunks fall off. So in the trailer, he's like, they're like, "Where's Sebastian?" And it like he smacks the wall and it goes. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, because he's kind of playing himself, and Robert De Niro's his dad, and the situation is that like he has to bring his dad for some reason to like meet the parents. Like, my parents needs to meet your parents, and obviously they're not similar. He's old Italian, and they're like rich, but they make the character so unrealistic. It's like her like brother is like really into like chakras, like he's like that guy, you know, but he's like so like there's no realist to him, you know. Wedding Crashers, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn's good.
I love that movie. Just getting into trouble all the time, those guys. Do you get into any trouble growing up with the cops, or maybe just trick-or-treating, dine and dash?
Trick-or-treating. I told you I was a fight guy. A lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a good
high
kid.
High school too?
High school, not as much. Anytime we tried to get into trouble in high school, it would just be either silly or like we had tried to have a senior prank in high school, and we were gonna bleach the grass because we had a picnic, like a barbecue that day. We were gonna bleach the grass that said like seniors, or like, you know, 2013 or whatever year we graduated. And then we were gonna we thought it'd be funny to put bird seed in the parking lot, and then like, so on the teacher's parking lot, so like all birds come and like shit on their cars and stuff. And we thought like that's gonna be so funny. And so we woke up at like 2 in the morning to do it, and like snuck into the field and bleached the grass and put the seed. The grass didn't get bleached. No birds came. It was just stupid.
Oh, the backfire.
It was more funny, like, because we're like, oh, that was dumb. But
were you the mastermind of it?
And me and my friends all together did it. But then I got arrested twice in high school for climbing things. I climbed a hospital, and then I climbed a high school that I didn't go to.
Did you ever use your GoPro and climb buildings like that?
No, that was before the days of GoPro. I think I was just trying to be like Assassin's Creed or something, and I wanted to climb. So I got arrested, and they make you go to peer jury. You ever have to do that?
No.
Yeah, it's like you have to go up in front of like a bunch of nerds, and they usually it's for people that get caught drinking. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're like, it's usually people that like got caught drinking at a party. And
who would ever agree to be on that jury? Like, wouldn't
nerds? People that have never done a wrong thing in their life.
Well, they'd be known as rats by the entire school, correct? Because you know exactly what they're thinking about.
I don't even think any of them went to my school, to be honest.
Oh, it was just people from your city.
Yeah, they were like the surrounding area.
And how old were they?
I don't know, my age, like, I don't know, 17, 18.
But it was just kids in high school who would
it was like designed for like, if you get a drinking ticket, or like get arrested for drinking at a party, you go to the peer jury, it doesn't go on your record, but you have to do like community service or
something.
And
you did get arrested drinking at a party?
No, I got arrested for climbing a hospital. But I had to go to that peer jury, and they're like, "Okay, so were you drunk?" I was like, "No, I just wanted to get to the top."
Also, why would you have said yes at that particular time? All right, well, were you drunk? You're like, "Yes, I was drunk." Like, what? So underage drinking, and you were climbing it.
Right, exactly.
Like, definitely not the
you're
move
a kid,
to
you're
admit
stupid, you're gonna admit everything. You know?
Yeah, right. That's true.
But it was actually funny. I was climbing this hospital with my friend, and like it was literally the hospital of the town. we were like, oh, it wouldn't be sick if we climbed the top of that. And
Definitely.
some Indian doctor was like knocking on the window, and he was giving me one of these.
Wait,
He's
what
like,
time did you climb the hospital?
like maybe 3 p.m. on a Saturday, like the worst time you could do it. And he's just like, no, do not climb this hospital.
Climb, are you crazy?
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck you, and we kept climbing, and
How tall was the hospital?
tall, like I don't know, fucking 5 stories, but like it kind of went like this.
Oh, so
like,
there was like places to jump.
You could kind of Tetris up, yeah. And
Any parkour involved in that, or you were kind of just like
the
putting
whole
your
thing is
feet
kind of
where-
parkour, right?
Well, maybe there were ladders in certain places. But you
No,
feel like you were
yeah,
jumping
yeah,
from
yeah.
side to side, wall to wall.
I don't know why we did that stupid shit, but it could have broke my fucking neck. But
Did you climb trees a lot then when you were younger?
sure, I think as a kid I really liked all like
Danger.
buildings and that urban climbing, but I was in the fucking suburbs. But anyway, I tried to climb to the hospital. Then the police come and he's like, "Get the fuck down!" So I jump off like the first story or second story, and I roll, and they immediately handcuff me. They thought I was some sort of domestic terrorist. And then my buddy's still up there. He's on the second floor, and they're like, "Don't you fucking jump! You're gonna break your fucking neck." So they had to call the fire department, and the fire department came, and they just like raised the ladder like this, and then he got in, and they like jumped off the truck.
Did he get a bill for that?
What do you mean, like a bill for the fire department? I have no idea
He
actually,
must have, I think.
but it was stupid.
Because like, if you ever get too drunk and you have to get your stomach pumped, like the ambulance will send you a $5,000 bill, dude. Like that happened to one of my boys.
That's
He was
crazy.
2 blocks away from his house when he woke up after drinking from a night. Like he passed out in Brooklyn, called 911. He woke up and the hospital that he was at was 2 blocks away from his apartment. How crazy is that? And the
That is
hospital
crazy.
bill came was $5,000.
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah.
took his mom like years to pay off.
Yeah, dude. And my dad was like,
Insane.
yeah, my parents, they were just like baffled. But like my dad, as a younger man, he told me when he'd get high, he'd be like, I used to climb shit. I used to fucking climb on buildings
I
and
get
shit.
it. I get what you're
Yeah,
doing.
but at the time, he was like, what are you fucking retarded?
Yeah,
You're jumping
dude.
up a fucking building and jumping off, Sorry for using that word.
No, you're good. Was it safe growing up in Chicago? Chicago sometimes will get a bad rap, maybe known as Chirac to some of you judgmental
Chirac,
people.
shout out. No, Chicago there's another difference between New York and Chicago. I guess I'd point out, extremely segregated city. Extremely like if you could tell very quickly like when you're in a very good neighborhood and when you're in a very bad neighborhood, and there's a fine line of like this is this neighborhood, this is that neighborhood. You know what I mean?
How can you kind of tell though? Like fencing or
By
something
like
like
by like
security
the
cameras?
streets, you're like this is like I know past that street is bad and past this street is fine. You know what I mean? And obviously there's crime that like they like people will come from like the south side of Chicago, let's say, and they'll go to the north side and they'll like whack a young man like you and me over the head and take our wallet like that happens. But it's like if you're not in that area, you're okay.
In New York, you find that can't really tell.
In New York, my first inclination was like your head is constantly on a swivel.
Yeah, it's
you're
gotta
like
be.
I feel safe, but also like it can immediately turn into survival mode. You know what I mean? Which I kind of like. I like
Yeah.
that you have to be alert.
Well, New York, you always got to be on. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter the time of day. You could be climbing hospitals at any particular time.
And I drove a lot in Chicago, so I didn't really experience like walking around all the time. So like now that I don't have a car here and I take the train and walk around, it's like it's a little bit more like what's my surrounding like.
Did you drive to high school parties though when you were in high school? Like
My
junior,
one
senior
friend
with your boys?
had like a really nice car.
What kind of car?
He had not really nice, but it was a Mercedes. Like
Let's go.
New. Yeah, it was sick, and he had the black rims on it. Like in high school, he like saved his money and bought black rims.
I was
Yeah,
gonna ask if he was dealing drugs.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a bag for a high school kid.
Right. Shout out Josh. Shout out the Mercedes. But we missed that car. But he just loved, and he didn't drink. He was kind of like a, he didn't
Sober
wasn't about that
driver,
life
yeah.
until college. So he's like, I like driving. So he was like our designated driver all the time. He would drive us to go get arrested to go climb the hospital.
In college, that was the first time I ever met kids who just enjoyed driving, like went on a peaceful drive. Because in New York, I mean, that's obviously not a thing.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like going to college, I met probably 8 to 10 kids who would willingly drive me somewhere. Like if it was a little bit farther, maybe they'd ask for a little gas money, but sometimes they just wouldn't mind the 20 or 30 minute
Yeah.
drive to the outlet mall.
I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't think I could. I couldn't do a good drive. I'm not frustrated by driving only at certain times, but I'm also not I don't think it's like a soothing thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, all right, if I got to drive, I got to drive.
Well, how far away did you live from high school or college? Did you live at home for college?
Lived at home for college.
Or after college? Oh,
And
wow.
this is the first time I ever lived on my own. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Wow. And you're doing a good job?
I eat ramen noodles every day.
You're alive. Whatever, bro. I eat beans and chickpeas right out of the can. Just
Do you really?
Hot sauce.
Yeah.
Well,
Nah,
'cause
that's
I'm
fine.
vegan, so my options are pretty
You're
limited.
vegan?
Vegan, bro.
Oh, I would have never agreed to this podcast.
Yeah, dude. Hardcore vegan.
Are
man.
you really vegan?
Yeah, bro.
And what's that like?
It's great, dude. It's great. My energy's always up. I always feel happy. I would recommend
That
it
makes
to
a lot
you.
of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's like the natural
But
stuff
you
that's
drink?
making me feel good. Maybe once every 3 to 4 weeks, I'll have 2 to 3 drinks
You're
in a
fucking
night, bro.
vegan, dude? That's
Yeah,
so
dude.
You can't be Italian and vegan, dude.
Yeah. I'm a quarter Italian.
Are you really?
Yeah. My grandpa, rather, is full Italian. From Sicily.
But like pasta.
Love pasta. I can have pasta.
You can have pasta.
That's
Vegans
wheat.
can have pasta?
Yeah, if there's no egg in it, yeah. So I have I'll have pasta with red sauce at Italian restaurants for the most part all the time. I used to enjoy pizzas when I ate it, but now I'll have
But red sauce
vegan
usually
cheese.
has meat in it, no?
Well, red sauce maybe typically would have butter, but there are times when you would just put it right out of the tomato can.
Bro.
I spent the last 4 years being vegan, but before that, bro, I was having chicken every day for lunch, burger here and
You don't
there.
miss like a good fucking beef sandwich? I guess you don't have that
beef
here.
sandwich. What do you mean, like pastrami on a rye?
Well, like in,
I
Chicago, in
that.
Chicago with like Italian beef or like sausage,
Yeah.
like that's like, yeah,
not
dude.
really, dude. Not anymore. Did you ever go to Wiener Circle in Chicago? Do you know what I'm talking
Wiener
about?
Circle's the one where
the
they're mean to
ladies
you.
yell at you.
Yeah,
the
I've
black
never been.
ladies
I don't
yell
fuck
at
with
you.
that shit.
Bro, yeah, you probably get in a fight with them.
No, I just like, I don't like any kind of gimmick. Same thing with comedy. No gimmicks. Just let me go up there and do my fucking thing. I don't want to have to, pick out of the hat what I got to talk about, and just like I came here to do the thing that I want to do. I don't got to spin a wheel. Chicago, there's a ton. I mean, I'm sure there are here. There's a ton of like gimmicky shows. There's a show in Chicago, they don't do it anymore, but it's called the Tomato Throw Show. And every time you go on stage, the audience all has like foam tomatoes, and they throw the tomatoes at you if they don't like your joke. Or what turned out to be whenever you want. Whenever they felt like throwing a tomato at you, they would throw it at you. I did it one time, and I was just like, and I was new. I was like sort of new into the comedy world, and it just was the most humiliating thing I've ever had to go through.
That's not a good precedent to send for audience members to think that they throw tomatoes at comics when they go up there living their dream.
Dude.
You ever see comics in Chicago with guitars? I was out in LA pretty recently. That happens a lot. Like
Yeah,
comedy
you know what?
guitar
Chicago,
players.
there's a couple broads with ukuleles. You ever see that?
Oh no, that sounds pretty Hawaiian though.
No, it's just like it'll be like a little chick, maybe like 5'3" with a ukulele, and they're doing like improv songs. They're like, I was flicking my bean, and now I'm
At the bean.
yeah, exactly.
While eating beans.
And I'm mean.
Yeah. Eating green.
And then everyone's like,
'cause I'm
wow,
vegan.
impressive.
Yeah.
But no, I not a lot of guitars. I was just talking to another friend because I saw Craig Robinson go up at Zany's over the weekend, and
Oh wait, you were in Chicago this
I was in
past
Chicago
weekend?
for the festival. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was
All
super
right.
cool. But
Cool.
yeah, I could talk a little about that. But I saw Craig Robinson go up and he plays the piano, and like the people just go nuts. You know what I mean? And then like you see a comedian like, I don't know if you're familiar with Josh Wolf, like he'll go up and he'll play guitar halfway through his act. And part of me, because I play a little guitar, I'm like, man, that looks like such a blast. And that looks so fun. But in your head, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be like that guy. But then as soon as you put the guitar in your hand, you're like, oh no, I'm gonna be the girl with the ukulele. Like that's what I'm gonna be, the cheesy, because it's like you just feel. Maybe it's just my own head, but
It's
I
in
feel
your own
gimmicky.
head. Nah. I think
Yeah?
you should whip that shit out. Yeah. You should at least try it.
Yeah, what am I, fucking John Mayer though? Come on. Like, maybe. No, I mean not.
But maybe. You never know, dude. Tell us about the festival more. Was it cold as bulls up there, by the way?
No, it's about the same as here. Festival was good. I guess the story of the I don't know if I should tell, but like I saw
Bleep out the name. Yeah, go ahead.
I saw Hannibal Buress go on stage.
Oh, it's been a while since I've heard the name for comp stand-up.
Yeah. So speaking of music, he goes on stage and they let him go up. I was on a showcase. They let him go up at the end, and I think they asked him. They're like, "You want to go up?" And he's like, "Yeah, all right, I'll go up." And he was kind of, throwing back some drinks. And nothing wrong with that. And he went on stage and was killing for about like 20 minutes, like really great stuff, and purposely was flying the plane and then just nose dove it into the ground, like which you hear about like guys like Chappelle or like Bill Hicks or something, that like they just purposely walk an entire room. And he did that. He started to, so he, in the middle of his 20 minutes, he's just like, yeah, so I don't really care about comedy anymore. He's like, I really just give a shit about my rap career. So he's like, I'm just gonna freestyle rap. And then he starts to freestyle rap, and it's not like he's like got a backtrack and like he's just, it's a cappella, just being like, yeah, so I was at home and I'm in the zone and I'm learning to and fro and just like to himself, not looking at the audience. And the first pause that he does kind of gets an applause break, and then he keeps going, and then he keeps going, and then I'm mean, and I'll be seen, and I come over here, and I'm going, you know, and I'm green, and like whatever he's, and then all of a sudden like it gets to, you can see how good I am at rapping, and but finally he gets to like 3 or 4 pauses, and he goes, oh, by the way, I'm going to rap until this place is empty, and proceeded to do so. So he was up there just rapping, you know, and then slowly people just got up. It was like a half full house because it was like the late show. So at this point, it's like 1:30 in the morning. People just start walking to the back of the room, paying their checks and walking out. And then like the manager, you know, kind of gave him like a light, and he was like, don't fucking light me. He's like, I'm doing my thing up here. And like, I don't know, walked the whole fucking room, dude. These people paid money. You got to think about that. These people paid money to see a show. You got them excited to see you, and like they're happy that you dropped in, and then you sort of just like ruin their expectations of you, you know? And it's not like he's like a household name. If I told, you know, my good friend that, like, if I told one of the dogs, yeah, Hannibal Buress came to the show, they'd be like, who the fuck is Hannibal Buress? You know what I mean? He's very special, I think, in the comedy world. I think he's a phenomenal artist and great comedian, but I was also like, well, that's not how you should behave on any level, you know?
You ever do a show in the metaverse?
No, you don't tell me you're vegan and going in the metaverse, dude. Don't pull this on me, dude. Not Ted Jones illusion.
Literally the universe. I exclusively do the metaverse.
Have you? Did you ever do Zoom shows?
No, I never did.
No, I can see you killing a Zoom show.
I appreciate that.
Hey, you're exciting.
You also don't give a shit about anyone on the other end. Yeah, there was a girl who came on the podcast, Olga Namer, and it was like Olga. 2020. You know Olga. It was 2020, and she went to a venue in Long Island that has like 300 seats, and they kind of messed up the transition between having her just like with a camera connected to the computer, and then she'd be able to see all the faces. So they only had the camera set up, and she was just in a 300-person theater just doing stand-up to no audience members. It was just her in there, but there were like 250 people online watching her. So she said she would like do a joke, then pause for like 5 seconds, go into another bit, then pause. Oh my God, that sounds. So it's just insane.
I had to do something like that. I did what the fuck did I do? It was like during the pandemic, it was like a theater, but like there was only like 10 people in this theater, and they're like, oh no, we record it though, and then we have an audience here just so you could play to somebody, but we're recording this so it could be like broadcasted at people's homes, like through our website, like our portal. And I was like, okay, and it's literally a fucking theater, and there's 10 people here, and I'm going, right? You know, like, you know what I'm talking about.
We had to do what we had to do, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it paid the bills. I don't know.
Were you happy at home during the pandemic? What kind of did you
see
comedy going forward?
Were you here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic, I don't know. I like the pandemic because I feel like a lot of people stopped doing comedy, and like I continued to like do it underground. You know, I may have caught COVID a couple times, maybe wore a mask where I wasn't supposed to, or you know, or didn't wear a mask rather. But like, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, it's the pandemic, I'm not gonna keep being creative, and I feel like I used that time to like sort of like load my gun. You know what I mean?
Made or broke a lot of comedians, if that's the right way to say it.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if you weren't in it then, and I wasn't doing Zoom shows, but I would like drive out to Indiana where like they didn't believe in COVID, and I would do a show, you know, in like a garage or something. My friend did a show in his basement, like the peak of the pandemic. I mean, it was kind of shitty thinking about it now, probably dangerous, but I mean, you know, in hindsight, you look back on it and you're like, I mean, we tried to take precautions, and you know.
What do some of your friends think about you moving to New York to pursue comedy?
I feel like every time I go home, I have this. It's more in my head. If you notice this about me, Ted, I'm very in my head a lot. I'm very like, you know, what the fuck am I doing in my life? But I feel like every time I go home now, I have this sort of like expectation to like, all right, what's this guy been working on? All right, like because when you're not
from them on you,
when you're not in New York, a lot of people talk about going somewhere. They're like, oh, I'm gonna maybe go to LA one day, or I'm maybe gonna go to Austin, or I'm maybe gonna go to New York. Oh my God,
that's such a crazy thing.
So there's a lot of people like just like comics is in like certain like open mic circles are like, oh, you know, he's going to New York, you know, like that's what I think in my head. I think they all are going in their head. They're going, yeah, he's going to New York. Like, we'll see. He thinks he's better now because he's out in New York. And I don't, for the record, you know, but I also feel like when I come home, I need to like meet the expectation of like, hey, I'm still getting better and I'm trying to still be, you know.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's the typical guy who's doing things in his city, but he's always talking about doing the next thing. You hear about that in New York. People talk about their projects or maybe what they're working on, but you never really hear about people in New York talking about, oh, I'm going to go to this place and do that. You know, it's kind of like,
yeah, well, I mean, like most people are under, it's not with social media. I think you could do anything, but like most people are under the understanding of like Chicago is not the end all be all place for stand-up comedy. You know what I mean? It's a great place to develop. And I think some of the funniest people I've ever met are from Chicago. However, it's like, you know, the industry is out here. The industry is in LA and now Austin, you know? So it's like, you know, I'm just trying to put myself in the position to be the most successful because I want to maintain this as a career for as long as I can.
Luca, I want to say today was a great freaking episode, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And you were a very funny comic, man.
Thanks, dude. I really had a blast.
Times I've seen you. For real,
Fuck
man.
yeah.
This is great. All right, dude.
What a screeching halt.
Until the next time. Yeah, dude. Well, I figure we wrap it up right around here.
I love it, man. Thank you.
Okay, before we get out of here, we're popping up
can I plug my shit?
Dude, exactly. That's what I'm going to have you do right now. We're popping up your Instagram. Please, go ahead. Plug your shit.
Luca Ferro Comedy on Instagram, and my podcast is called Known as Basement. Check it out. It's with my two really good friends. We talk about a bunch of shit.
Thanks so much for coming on. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Ted Jones.
Peace.